Hi, I'm Rachel Edidin.
And I'm Miles Stokes.
And we're the hosts of Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men, a weekly podcast all about the ins, outs, and retcons of our favorite superhero soap opera.
We're also the hosts of Rachel and Miles Review the X-Men,
which you're watching right now,
where we talk about the X books that come out each week.
Now, this week we're going to be looking at the books of September 23rd, 2015, but first, big shout out to everyone who came and saw us at Rose City Comic Con and came to the live show. You're amazing. And that episode's going to be up this weekend. More about that after the reviews. First up, we have X-Tinction Agenda number 4 of 4, written by Mark Guggenheim, drawn by Carmine Dijon-Domenico, and colored by Nolan Woodard.
I gotta ask, Zark, are those what I think they are?
Yeah, no, it's the sound it's the optic blast sound.
Excellent.
So it's like stealth visor.
I feel a little at risk standing next to you, but
no,
we'll see how it goes.
I mean, I'm really proud of these.
They're good.
They were hard to make.
Yes.
Anyway, X-Tinction Agenda number 4 is... it's an adequate end to an adequate series. I feel bad saying that, but there's just not a lot that stood out about this particular book among the Secret Wars lineup, especially against titles that really nailed it.
I did like seeing some characters we didn't see as much, and there was actually an interview with Mark Guggenheim that went up on one of the big comics blogs today, where he talked about exactly that. I thought that was pretty rad, about freaking Wicked of all characters showing up.
Yeah, I just wish they'd done more interesting things. It starts with a decent premise, but it just never quite gets past that, which actually honestly is a problem that I had with Guggenheim's run on Adjectiveless X-Men leading into this stuff too.
I can totally see that. I was kind of looking for more, I don't know, this book teased an ideological conflict between the two sides of X-Men that I thought was really interesting. Essentially hope versus utilitarianism.
Hope the concept, not hope the character, which is one of those points of disambiguation you have to worry about with this world.
It could be worse. It could be when we did a Fantastic Four episode and had to say thing a lot. But instead we just get, we do get a reconciliation, true, but it's more because there's a larger common foe. And I guess for me, the ultra-violence wasn't really what interested me about this series.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's where Carmine Dijon-Domenico's strengths really lie. So there was potential, I agree, and I don't think it went quite as far as I would have liked.
Yeah, the first issue was hands down one of the strongest of this series, and there was a lot of unrealized potential there. As in the original event, so it's true to that in that regard. In general, if you haven't been following this, I don't think it's necessarily one to pick up. I'm not sorry I read it, but I probably wouldn't if I were going to go back and choose through again.
Next and last is Years of Future Past, number 5 of 5, written by Marguerite Bennett with art by Mike Norton and colors by Foucault Placencia. So you know how we were just saying that we wish there was a little more of the philosophical conflict and exploration in X-Tinction Agenda?
Well, I guess we know where all of that landed this week.
Yeah, so okay, we've been impressed with Years of Future Past from the start. I think maybe me a little more than you.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I think it definitely got you where you lived a little bit harder than it did me.
It did. Apparently I live in Earth 811, which I should reconsider.
Ooh, yeah, no, that's not a good place to raise your kids up.
No, well, case in point. And this comic has become all about really brave storytelling decisions, a real deep exploration of mutants as a metaphor and mutants as a story element, as embodied by Christina Pride and Cameron, another young character, one of the other last mutants. And that comes to a head in a way I really wasn't expecting in this issue. And, Marguerite Bennett, to her credit, totally follows through. She doesn't shy away from exploring that conflict right up until its climax.
Well, and past its climax, because one of the things, and I'm going to sort of non-spoil it here, is say that the ending of this book is really ambiguous, and that was something that both of us really dug. Superhero stories, and especially superhero stories that are in a very limited scope, kind of call for pat resolutions, and resisting that, and especially resisting it effectively, not just letting a series sort of trail off, is a tough thing to do well, and I think here that Bennett and Norton really did.
And that fits a story like this really well. In our live Rose City Comic Con panel, one of the questions the panel received was, how would X-Men end? And I believe, was it Jeff Parker or Chris Yost who said that either hate and fear are dispelled or the mutants all die?
Yeah, pretty much. That was Yost.
Yeah, and the fact is Earth 811 is basically all about where that hate and fear can lead. And, I think in giving us a pat resolution to that in either one direction or the other, that would kind of be cheating. That would kind of be oversimplifying what at its core is kind of a profound exploration of a profound human conflict. And I realize I'm talking this up in gargantuan terms. And yet, yes, it's just a comic, but it's a very good comic. And I really appreciate a comic that treats its readers as being smart enough to follow where it's going and that, lives up to the potential of what X-Men can be.
It's a comic that does a very, very good job of riffing off the original stuff it's spinning out of, while examining questions that have lasted and extended far beyond that. If there's a point to Secret Wars books greater than Let's Play in alternate realities, then I think this book kind of embodies it.
There we go. 2 of 2.
So, Miles, what's our issue of the week?
Now, you could be forgiven for assuming it would be Years of Future Past number 5.
Which is very, very good.
But I actually this week want to choose an entirely different issue, one we didn't cover. Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps, number 4.
Yeah.
It's the final issue of the series, and it's actually Kelly Sue DeConnick's final issue writing Captain Marvel for the foreseeable future after 3 straight years of doing so.
Yeah, this is the capstone of a run that's encompassed 3 separate series, and honestly has done a huge amount to change the public face of superhero comics and superhero fandom, as well as meaning a lot to a lot of individual fans and readers, us included.
Yeah.
So it's also just a really, really, really fantastic capstone to both the immediate series and that whole 3-year run.
I cried on my lunch break, I'll freely admit. But yeah, I think Captain Marvel has been overshadowed here and there by titles like Ms. Marvel, which have certainly been amazing. But it's important to remember both, that it was one of the first to do this kind of thing in the modern era, and also just how good it has been from the start to the finish. So Kelly Sue DeConnick, well done. We salute you.
Well, I also want to take a moment and talk about the part of fandom that it's really galvanized.
Yeah.
I've written about this for Wired before, and it's something I've talked about over and over. The extent to which the Carol Corps, the fan movement, not just the title, is kind of, when we started this podcast, was our model for what we wanted fandom to look like, and still very much is. That kind of positive, inflected, celebratory, and incredibly welcoming approach to a media that can be really, really, well, it can feel more like a wall than a door a lot
Sometimes.
of the time, was incredible. And seeing it organized on the scale that Carol Corps took it to and continues to take it to has been phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to the new series. It's written by the folks behind Agent Carter, which we all know I have feels about, and drawn by Chris Anka, who you all know that we have feels about. So, I mean, I assume it's going to be spectacular, but just, I think taking a moment and acknowledging just the amazing, amazing, amazing work that Kelly Sue has done and what's come out of that is so important.
That aside, what's our panel of the week?
Well, anything I say now is going to be anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But our panel of the week is, in fact, from Years of Future Past, and it's one that just creates a beautiful, beautiful sense of parallelism, brings the series in a lot of ways full circle to where it started. It's also just a great bit of show-off work for both artist and colorist on this book, and I think you'll see why taking a look.
That's all we have for you this week. Thanks for watching.
And I should add, actually, we forgot to mention it earlier, but
yeah.
One of our favorite Secret Wars series, again, biases notwithstanding, X-Men 92 just got announced as an ongoing this week. So I'm so excited about that. I did not foresee
this up until very recently. What a world we live in which X-Men 92 is an ongoing title.
Yeah, it's the same writers and then Alti from Messiah who was drawing Star-Lord and Kitty Pryde, so basically it's going to be pure glitter and splendor and amazing, and
yes,
we're probably still dead.
Probably. You never know. So anyway,
if you like what you've seen here, please check out our podcast, Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men. New episodes go up every Sunday at rachelandmiles.com, also on iTunes and Stitcher. And we've got something really special for you this week.
Indeed we do. This is actually going to be our first live, well, not live to you, but it was live.
Recorded in front of a live convention audience.
Yes, episode. That was from Rose City Comic Con, and we had a panel of pretty incredible guests, namely Chris Yost, Ann Nesenti, and Jeff Parker. I mean, damn.
Right, so that podcast, these video reviews, and everything at rachelandmiles.com are brought to you by our rad Patreon subscribers. We are an entirely listener-supported and ad-free project that is made possible by those fine folks, and if you would like to join them, you can do that at the Patreon link either above or below this video, depending on where you're watching it.
In the meantime, we will see you next week.